So I'm Chen, so I'll be doing a topic about marijuana legalization. So the first time I heard the word drugs was when I was in elementary school. People talked about drugs this and drugs that, but I really never knew what drugs were. I thought it's like when drugs we got close to it, you died. I don't know, because no one ever told me what drugs really were. So I kept this image until middle school, until someone told me that drugs were like a sort of kind of medicine. And I was confused, like drugs were supposed to be harmful, but now it's medicine. But then I learned that drugs in definition mean medicine, not poison. So that brought me to the question, why is drugs more so used in a negative connotation? The reason is simple. It's because drugs are addicting and people overdose on it and give the substance bad names. The fact is that drugs were not designed to kill. They are medicine in origin, but some people made it out so they somehow do kill. Overdosing and shooting related to drug trafficking, making governments reluctant to legalize drugs, even legalize drugs. With this in mind, I would like to state my proposition that legalizing marijuana for medical and limited recreational purposes will not have any major harmful effects on society despite this negative image in society. My 3-second theory claims supporting my proposition that marijuana health effects are less damaging from other substances, not lethal when moderately used, and it does not instigate violence by itself. So often when marijuana is mentioned, that people associate it with health problems and death, because that is the stereotype in society. So it won't be hard to hear the medical benefits of marijuana. But that's not true. My first point is that marijuana does equal drug, but it does not equal health problems as much as other substances. For example, take alcohol. So marijuana is like liquor in one important aspect. It's a pressure reliever. According to Will Arslan, author of Marijuana, The Facts, the Truth, but there is similar ends for marijuana is a hallucinogen, while alcohol is a depressant on the central nervous system. What does that mean? To put it in a nutshell, it means that marijuana makes you hallucinate, while alcohol just paralyzes you by destroying your nervous system, which your brain depends on to move your arms and legs. So that's why some alcoholics have some paralysis in later life, such as alcoholic neuropathy, which is degradation of the nerves. Marijuana, some people might say marijuana does have long-term health risks, but none of them are as serious as paralysis because, as I said, marijuana overall is a hallucinogen, which does not put a strain on the body, so we'll go over that later. Furthermore, according to David R. Ford, author of Marijuana, Not Guilty as Charged, alcohol also causes nearly 25,000 people to die on U.S. highways, which is, compared to marijuana, it's much more deadly, not just in health effects, but also other aspects of the drug. So I'll just be moving on to my second point, that marijuana is not lethal or harmful when moderately used in medical terms. So research shows that a 160-pound man, that the average adult will have to smoke 900 marijuana-composed cigarettes to receive a fatal dose. According to the professor of psychology, Mick Earlywine, this genetically engineered marijuana is as potent as 100 marijuana cigarettes combined. One would have to smoke about 15 hours to reach early overdose. Simply put, it is impossible to overdose or die while consuming, close to impossible, while consuming marijuana. Should that mean people be consuming marijuana like no tomorrow? Of course not, because if you overuse any substance, it will cause health problems. So that fact means it's really just harder to overdose on marijuana than other overdose on marijuana. Additional testing shows that marijuana leads to minimal impacts on the human body. A study on the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease found that there was no apparent difference between marijuana smokers and non-smokers in disease occurrence. The lungs of people who smoke 2 to 3 marijuana cigarettes per day for about 15 years did not differ from those who did not smoke at all. Similarly, a study on the brain shows no difference between the brain structure of marijuana and non-marijuana users. Magnetic resonance imaging on marijuana users who smoked twice a day for 2 years indicated that there were no abnormalities in the brains of these users, according to which everyone has said. The guy from earlier. So, in fact, the finding shows that non-users had larger brain ventricles, which mean marijuana somehow protects the brain from atrophy, abnormal enlarged growth. Also, we can't forget that marijuana is still medicine, which means that it's still used as a substance to help people get better, I guess. So that's why psychiatrist Todd H. Miyakura helped develop Proposition 215, the state ballot that allowed doctors to recommend marijuana for patients and begin researching marijuana therapeutic possibilities in the 1960s. So he believed that the symptoms of over 200 ailments can be treated with marijuana, like stuttering, insomnia, menstrual syndrome, and writer's cramp. So it might sound preposterous that it could relieve 200, but it's the truth that it's medicine, despite that it's a drug. So what can we conclude from all this medical data? It's that although most studies do not focus on heavy users, the fact that one can still smoke marijuana for many years without adverse consequences suggests that marijuana is not so detrimental to humans that it needs to be completely banned as it is today. My third and last point is that marijuana is not an instigator of violence by itself. According to Auster, people who drop out of society as a result of smoking are far fewer than those of problem drinkers or converting drunkards. Marijuana mitigates violence by letting one quietly enjoy the sensation it provides. The effect can last up to 6 hours, after which the user can simply return to one's normal activities. Alcohol, on the other hand, energizes the user, making them aggressive and apt to insist that one is sober. Aside from the effects of marijuana, another heavy factor that shows violence is marijuana is drug trafficking. Marijuana would be something negative like smoking cigarettes, but at least it doesn't come with violence. But when it's like marijuana is like shipped with cartels that just kills people for profit, that's when government starts taking action and propagandizing against it. So we can always see a difference. Marijuana is completely looked down in society. There's some states still banning its use and growth, and sometimes helicopters patrol mountains just look for patches of marijuana. So having marijuana inside this campus is not good either. So why is marijuana a harbinger of violence? Because its history and negative publicity. Does it promote violence by itself? Not like alcohol does. Should it be legalized? It should be to a certain degree that people do not break themselves into this. Returning to back to my proposition, marijuana should be legalized for medical and limited recreational use. Some people honestly do think banning marijuana is good for society. I have a doubt because I don't like to see people smoke, but I do believe it can be legalized for medical and limited recreational use. But as long as the drug war in Mexico is going on, you won't be seeing marijuana legalization. That's it.
All right, it takes a while to get to the proposition. Once you get to the proposition, you've actually got two claims. One of them has a negative phrase in it. At the end of the speech, it turns into a policy proposition, so you need to be careful about that. You did preview what the secondary points were going to be, and you indicated those points as you went along, although it sounded to me like you had a fourth point between the second and the third point that was kind of separate about marijuana as medicine. So I'm not exactly sure what the differentiation is between the points on two, whether you had like 3 or 4 supporting points under there, or whether there was a distinct point on it. It was a little bit confusing. The evidence that you cited is very generic in nature. There's a lot of comparison stuff on alcohol on both the first and the third point that you have, and I'm not exactly sure that a demonstration that alcohol is problematic is a demonstration that marijuana is not problematic. I think you need to develop a little bit more information on that. The stuff about marijuana as medicine, you've got one quote that you yourself seem to kind of suggest is an overclaim, that there are 200 possible benefits from it, but we don't get any other discussion of medical benefits except for that particular claim, so it seems a little bit strange. Except right at the end, I thought of that point, you did have an argument about the possible benefits to the brain, and I thought that might be a category that could be developed because it sounds like there is a specific advantage that it produces, but it's not. Like I said, it doesn't seem to go very far, just as it trails off there, and then you go to the other point. Your speech is 9 minutes and 45 seconds, so it's almost 60% overtime. You got to be careful about that. Thank you. That won't happen in the debates, by the way.